It's episode 634 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. On today's show, I am re-ranking a mid-season re-rank of my top 30 Rangers prospects. This episode is 16 through 30, looking at who has had a great season, who has had a bad season, all about this Rangers farm system. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Bryce Patrick, a quickly addicted Texas Rangers fan. It is Thursday. I didn't write this down, so it's going to be me doing math on the fly. July 14th. Yeah, I think I'm recording this late on Tuesday night after a stupid 12-inning loss to the A's that, you know what, I'm just not going to talk about it. I mean, Corey Seager hit his fifth home run in a row. That was really nice. Marcus Semien looked good. That was nice. That's it. That's all I'm talking about. That game was so stupid. It just gives me a migraine to think about. Plus, we got a lot of prospects to get into today. Before we do, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. So I am re-ranking at the midseason. You may be saying, Bryce, why are you doing this when the Rangers are just about to draft a whole bunch of studs on Sunday? Well, I'm going out of town. Well, it's not my brother's 30th birthday, but it was about a month ago, and we're getting the gang together in Atlanta, so I will not be in town to record these podcasts. That is why I'm recording them beforehand. Yesterday's show, this has been pretty much minor league week. I talked about the draft. If you're looking for an episode about that, I talked with Lindsey Crosby, host of Locked On MLB Prospects, on Wednesday's episode. Some really, really great talk there, some really enlightening stuff. Made me very, very encouraged for this draft. Also, they'll be going live on Sunday night to talk about the draft, so be sure to check that out because I will not be in town to talk about it. So I figured, you know what? The Rangers aren't going to get anybody in that fourth and fifth round. The Rangers have the first pick. Their first pick is the third overall pick. Then they don't have their second or third picks because, you know, they got Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, who are really dang good baseball players and probably better than anybody they would have gotten in the second or third round. Now, I'm going to go through my bottom 15 of the top 30. In today's episode, I'm going to look at who I had there beforehand right now. At number 16, before the season, I had Glenn Otto, 17, Ricky Vanasco, 18, Aaron Zavala, 19, TK Roby or Tekoah Roby, 20, I had Yeison Morrobel, 21, Davis Wenzel, 22, Thomas Sadducee, 23, Yerry Rodriguez, 24, Cole Reagans, 25, Avery Weems, 26, Bubba Thompson, 27, Cody Bradford, 28, Dane Acker, 29, Cam Cauley, and number 30, Byron Laura. Now, quite a few guys have slipped off of that bottom 15. Some of them have moved up a little bit into the top 15, but we've got a whole bunch of new guys and fun guys who have been having some pretty darn good seasons overall for this Rangers farm system. Let's start at number 30. We have Larson Kendricks, a left-handed pitcher in high A. He has been doing fairly well for the Rangers this year. He was the Rangers draft pick in the 8th round of the 2021 draft out of Biola University in La Mirada, California. I could not have said that any wider if I tried. Maybe I could have if I made it sound like Hank Hill. But this is a college pick out of a very small Christian school in California. He has pitched for Down East and he has pitched for Hickory. He is in Hickory right now, where he's been absolutely dominating in 3 starts there, averaging 5 innings per start. In Hickory, has a 1.20 ERA in those 15 innings, 18 strikeouts, but 7 walks. Has had a bit of a walk problem so far. Did not start the season in the starting rotation, came out of the pen, but worked his way into the starting rotation, ended up with a 2.84 ERA in 38 innings with 55 strikeouts for Down East, has 4.2 walks per 9 at Hickory, and had 4.7 walks per 9, but 13 strikeouts per 9 at the lower level. He's got some pretty nice stuff, has progressed pretty well. He is 23 years old, so a little bit younger than the average Hickory player. Been doing pretty well. Would like to see him cut down those walks, but the walks have been a real problem throughout the system for the Rangers right now. Now, 29 is a guy who I don't know what to do with. I dropped him down one spot from where he was before. only because I just don't know what to do with this guy. His name is Dane Acker, the right-handed pitcher. Last time he was 28, now he's 29. He has barely pitched at all. Started his collegiate career at Rice, then ended up at Oklahoma. Only pitched in 4 games for Oklahoma. All those were starts. Fairly solid stuff. Only pitched in 2 games at Down East last year. Had a 284 ERA, 11 strikeouts in 6 1/3 innings, and did allow 1 walk and 0 home runs. Really solid stuff when he was there, but he had Tommy John surgery, so we just don't know much about him. Scouts have raved about him. They really, really loved him out of the draft. He was originally drafted by Arizona in the 23rd round out of high school, Oakland in the 4th round, and out of Oklahoma, and he was in that. He was part of the Mike Minor trade for the Rangers. So if he can turn out to be half as good as he looked in those 6 1/3 innings, the Rangers absolutely just rob the A's in that Mike Minor deal. It's looking like he will come back sometime in August, so we'll get to see a little bit of him this year. Still not that much, still a big question mark. At number 28, we have Yerry Rodriguez, a right-handed pitcher who has moved into a bullpen role. He is 24 years old. He has had some pretty rough outings with Round Rock, but for the most part, he's been pretty solid. 33 2/3 innings, 43 strikeouts, 5 home runs, though, 1.3 homers per 9, and 4.8 walks per 9, but 11.5 strikeouts per 9 with a 4.81 ERA in those just under 33 innings at AAA. He's been a guy who relied a whole lot on his fastball. The move to the pen was always going to happen. He did start in AA a little bit in 2021, 14 starts there. But once he got up to Round Rock, he only started 4 games there and 13 games out of the pen. Got really rocked last year at 8.31 ERA. Still really nice fastball. I think a slider is his main secondary pitch, but he just kind of needs to get those walks a little bit more under control. The strikeout stuff is there. The fastball stuff is there. Really nice stuff. Next guy on this list, number 27, Glider Figuereo. Pretty solid guy in the lower levels. 18 years old in the Rangers ACL, the rookie league. He's played in 17 games, 75 plate appearances so far at that level, hitting .237, but the on base is .373, slugging .610, a .984 OPS, 4 home runs, 4 triples, and 2 doubles in just 17 games so far as an 18-year-old. Already stateside. Those are things that you really, really like to see. Listed as a third baseman, but Grant said that he has seen him play thinks he might be able to play a little bit of second base. Other places have him listed as a shortstop, but really solid numbers in a small sample size. There's not a whole lot of sample size in those rookie leagues, be them the Dominican Summer League or the Arizona Complex League, but he's putting up solid numbers there. And number 26 on my list is AJ Lexi, former MLBer. He's just not doing well at all in AAA this year, though. Throw a dart, and you can say that about pretty much any pitcher at AAA. Just not going well for anybody who is there right now, except for Spencer Patton's has done pretty well there. After a nice start, it has gone a little bit rough for Cole Reagan. So he now has an ERA over 4, but it has not been great for anybody in AAA. AJ Lexi has a 6.43 ERA. Has had his problems with the home run and the walk, 5 walks per 9 innings and 2.4 home runs per 9. That is not a winning combination. He's still just 24 years old. We've seen him have success at the big league level, so I still believe in him, but I'd be kind of blind and dumb if I ignored the bad stuff that has happened to him and pretty much every pitcher that has gone to AAA this year. Coming up, we're going to get into numbers 21 through 25 on my Rangers updated top 30 prospect. First, this episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple tools to help you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. Looking for fine jewelry but you're having trouble choosing? Well, Blue Nile's got jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every single budget. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Rangers listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your favorite piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Now, let's look at number 25 on this list. Number 25 was the first Rangers player to ever appear on this podcast. Got to meet him in person, has gotten to see him pitch in person, and so far the results haven't been super great. That's right, it's right-handed pitcher Zach Kent. He has been starting this year at Double-A. He got to Double-A last year after having a career season, and the results just haven't quite been there. He has been a little bit too reliant on his slider. I still think this guy's a big leaguer. I'm just less sure that he is a starter. I still think he's got it in him. He's got a nice fastball. He's got a really, really good slider, but he needs to start trusting some of those other pitches. It was a little bit of a similar problem to Spencer Howard, who got kind of in love with just his four-seamer and his cutter, and then he got lit up because big leaguers, no matter how good, unless your pitch is Mariano Rivera cutter, big leaguers, if they know what's coming, they're going to square it up pretty much every single time. So I would like to see him start trusting his other stuff a little bit more. He has had a little bit of a walk problem, which, again, throw a dart and you'll find somebody who has had a walk problem in this system. But I still have faith in him. He's had his moments where he's looked pretty darn good. Only 1.3 home runs per nine, which is not as big of a problem as some of the other guys on the staff. Around 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 4.1 walks per 9 in 48 and a third innings. He's got a 5.77 ERA. This Rough Riders rotation that I thought was going to be really dominant hasn't quite lived up to the billing just yet, but I'm still a believer in Zach Kent. Now, number 24, we have a newbie on this list. We have infielder Danyer Cueva. Cueva is a guy who is on the younger side. He is still a teenager, and he is putting up pretty solid numbers. He was signed out of Venezuela. He was born in 2004, making him 18 years old, which just makes me feel older than the grave. This is his second professional season, but his first season stateside. He is at the Arizona Complex League in 19 games, 83 plate appearances, has a slash line that is very, very impressive. Batting average 360, on base 422, slugging 493. Only 1 home run, 1 triple, and 5 doubles. But that on base being over 420 is pretty darn nice, and the OPS over 915 is pretty solid. He plays mostly shortstop. He bats left-handed, throws right-handed. Pretty advanced approach at the plate, and I really like those numbers, and I have heard some promising reports about old Danyer Cueva. Now, at number 23, we're having a lot more younger guys in this top 30 than I did last time out. There's a lot more to be said about these guys, and some of these top Rangers J2 signings, or whether it was January or July, I can't remember when the actual month was, they are performing a little bit better. We have Yeison Morrobel, outfielder, at number 23. Yeison was one of the very few youngsters on this list. He is a lefty center fielder, left fielder, right fielder, signed out of the Dominican Republic. He is 18 years old, and in the Arizona Complex League, his first season stateside, he has an OPS of 812, and on base over 400, slugging over 400. Does not have a home run just yet. Played 19 games, 86 plate appearances, but I'm sure that power will come. 9 walks to 19 strikeouts, hitting over 320. It's pretty impressive overall with his approach, and him being 18 and already being stateside, 1.7 years younger than the average player in his league. I just really, really liked what I've seen out of him. Now, at number 22, we have a bit of surprise, a little bit of an older guy, a former first-round pick, and a guy who I just genuinely have been rooting for because he has had it rough the last couple of years. It has been a little bit of a struggle for him to reach his potential. That is Bubba Thompson, an outfielder in AAA, a former first-round pick out of Mobile, Alabama, 26th overall pick in 2017 by the Rangers out of McGill-Tulane Catholic High School in Mobile, Alabama. That's how you got to say it. He is 24 years old, was actually born in the 90s, so it makes me feel a little bit less old. He is in Round Rock this year in 64 games, has an OPS of 801, on base of 345, slugging 456. He has 10 home runs this year, including an inside the Parker, 3 triples, and 9 doubles, 18 walks to 79 strikeouts, and get ready for this, 40 stolen bases. 40. That is not a typo. That is not a verbal typo, and has only been caught stealing twice. He has just run rampant on the base paths. He's gone downhill a little bit from that first month of the season when he and Leote were both absolutely raking, hitting left and right and center, and playing left and right and center field in the outfield. He has improved every single year. It was one of the last first-round picks that the Rangers had back in kind of the A.J. Preller model of find this athletic, toolsy guy who's fast, who can hit the snot out of the baseball, at least for power, and the hit tool is questionable. The Rangers had a lot of those guys, and they did not hit on pretty much any of them. They might have another one in Elijah Green in this upcoming draft, but he is a much higher ceiling, higher floor type of guy than some of the other ones that the Rangers have picked with those first rounders. But he had struggled with some off-speed stuff, and he has really, really improved. I saw him improve quite a bit in Frisco. Have heard really nice things about what he's doing in Round Rock, and I do think he's a major leaguer. I think he's probably a fourth outfielder, but he's a guy who's got some loud tools that can bring an impact to a major league team. So good for you, Bubba Thompson. Very, very good for you. And still just 24 years old. I know it feels like he's been here for forever. We've been hearing about him for a long, long time, maybe a little bit of prospect fatigue on him. But I think the Rangers have themselves a quality fourth outfielder. And after the horrendous game that Steven Duggar just had, I would not be against sending Bubba Thompson to the big leagues at some point this season. Maybe not today, but later on, heck, why not give him a cup of coffee? And at 21, we have Maximo Acosta, a shortstop in Down East. Not been putting up the best numbers so far in 22 games. He's age 22. In 23 games, he has a 778 OPS, batting just 230, on base of 319, slugging 459. Does have 2 home runs, 3 triples, and 4 doubles. But again, that's just 73 plate appearances. Has not played a whole lot. Does have 4 steals to just 1 caught stealing. I have heard reports that he has been a little bit of a disappointment compared to what some people expected going in to see from him. Hasn't played a whole lot this year. The numbers aren't super duper encouraging. And there is a shortstop one level higher in this system that is absolutely raking. Well, I guess Josh Smith is kind of doing some great things, and he technically plays shortstop, and so does Ezekiel Duran, but those guys are not in the bottom 15, and I'm pretty darn sure y'all already knew that. Coming up, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, we're going to come up to another new guy in this top 30 who maybe I should have had on the top 30 at the beginning of this year, but it's really, really impressed me quite a bit with what he has done at a bunch of different positions. First, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting needs and sports info. Find the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. BetOnline.net remains your best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check out all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Now, coming in at number 20 is a guy who plays for Frisco, a guy who plays a lot of different positions. That's right, it's Jonathan Ornelas. This guy plays pretty much everywhere. He plays in the outfield, he plays shortstop, he plays that well, he plays third base, plays that well, plays second base, does that well. I haven't seen him very much in the outfield, but I know that he can play some center field. He can play, he hasn't played anywhere besides center field in the outfield, but I'm pretty darn sure if you can hold down center, you can hold down a corner spot. From the reports I've heard from people who have actually seen him out there in center, he looks good. He looks comfortable. He is evolving into kind of Josh Smithy, I should say, a super utility kind of guy, but he is right-handed. He is just 22 years old in Frisco and right now has an 804 OPS, an on base of 366, slugging 438. He's got 7 home runs, 2 triples, and 11 doubles, 19 walks to 70 strikeouts. Been caught stealing 5 times, has stolen 5 bases. Really solid defense at shortstop. Like I said, on that left side of the infield, I see him play both those positions. I think he can really hold it down. I didn't really know what to make of him last year. Had played in Hickory at 21, had a 704 OPS. Nothing too crazy. I mean, he did have a great Arizona rookie campaign in 48 games as an 18-year-old, had an OPS of 849, but then didn't do anything that special in Hickory the next year when it was still low A. Had 6 home runs that year, a 706 OPS. His first experience with full season ball in 113 games. Still kind of impressive for a 19-year-old in full season ball, but then didn't have 2020. Came back and, like I said, kind of underwhelmed, and Hickory was just kind of fine. Played whatever position was open. Didn't do a whole lot of damage, but this year he has really taken that next step. I have heard scouts who put him as a future major leaguer, and you know what? I totally agree. I completely agree with that evaluation. Now, the next guy on this list is another infielder. That's right, it's Thomas Sagassi. Sagassi? One of those pronunciations. He is a 20-year-old infielder for Hickory, listed at 5'11", 175 pounds. The Rangers' 5th round pick in 2020 is, again, making that draft look very, very good for the Rangers. So far in Hickory this season, he's hitting at 292, an on-base of 342, slugging at 442. He has got 13 doubles, 7 home runs, and a triple, 18 walks to 66 strikeouts, and 7 stolen bases for him. Plays pretty much all around the infield, like what he's been able to put up, like that he has an on-base over 340, and he's able to add some power into that. Still pretty young, and him being at this advanced level tells you the Rangers feel really good about him. And the results have been there at a young age. Last year for Down East as, I guess, a 19-year-old? Yeah, doing my math right. Yeah, he had an on-base of 372 at Down East last year and slugged 463. That's an OPS of 835. This year's OPS is 738. Last year he had 14 doubles and 10 home runs and 3 triples, 42 walks, and 85 strikeouts. So impressive stuff. The Rangers are being pretty aggressive with him, putting him in high A at age 20. But he has shown that he is up to the challenge, and that has been pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. Next guy on this list, number 18, is Anthony Gutierrez. One of the, actually, I believe he was the highest paid Rangers bonus guy in this most recent class. Was born in 2004, which means he is 17 years old. Listed at 6'3", 180 pounds, bats right-handed, throws right-handed, was projected as one of the best right-handed bats in all of that entire class. He was born in Venezuela, but he moved to the DR to train at the academy that produced Rafael Devers and Eloy Jimenez. He gets compared to Eloy Jimenez, but a little bit more athletic version of him. He's still been able to play right field and has put up some impressive numbers. He's already stateside in his first professional season at the Dominican Summer League with the Rangers. He played in 22 games, had an OPS of 921. That is some really impressive stuff for such a young kid. He's already stateside. He has played in 1 game, does not yet have a hit, but I believe does have a walk in 4 at-bats, literally just 1 game, so might want to just chill on that. But the fact that he is already stateside at his age is pretty impressive. His slash line at the Dominican Summer League, 352, 410, slugged 511. That is pretty darn impressive stuff. 8 doubles and 2 home runs in just 22 games for the youngster. 8 walks to 18 strikeouts in that one, and 5 stolen bases. Still plays a little bit of center field. Will probably end up moving out to one of the corners, but decent arm, plays decent defense, pretty athletic, and a really, really nice advanced approach and some power from that right-handed swing. I really, really like what I am hearing about him. Can't wait to see how fast he moves up the levels. The fact that he's already stateside at his age, again, like I said, very, very impressive at age 17. We'll see what the numbers look like, but again, at those really, really low levels, the numbers can kind of be skewed because the competition level varies so much, or at least the player's skill level is there's quite a bit of variety in that skill level. But really what you need to know is look at their age and look at how long they've been playing and look at how fast the Rangers fast track them through the system, because they're not going to fast track somebody they don't think is ready. They have high hopes on this kid, and so far he is living up to those high hopes. Now, at number 17, we have another new name in here. We have left-handed pitcher Mitch Bratt. He is a 19-year-old lefty. MLB Pipeline has him listed at 6'1", 190 pounds. So far, he's done pretty well. He's pitching for the Wood Ducks this year. He is the Rangers' 5th-round pick in the 2021 draft. They have him graded as a 50 fastball, 55 curveball, 50 changeup, and 50 control. He was a Canadian high school prospect, but he had his senior season at the Georgia Premier Academy in Statesboro, Georgia. The Rangers were able to sign him for well over slot at $850,000. That shows the Rangers were very, very serious about him. That was some of the money that they were able to save with the whole Aaron Zavala medical issue and signing him for much lower than his second round bonus would normally command. But he had a 0 ERA and 13 strikeouts in 6 innings of rookie ball, and continued to dominate in instructional leagues. Right now he is with Danyer. He has pitched in 11 games. 10 of those were starts, 44 innings, a 1.84 ERA, 14 walks, 55 strikeouts. Opposing batters are hitting just 190 against him. He's only given up 3 home runs in those 44 innings. Some pretty impressive stuff for a guy who is still just 19 years old. He is just blazing through that Rangers system, and even though I would not wish anything that happened with Aaron Zavala, that was a really scary situation, just glad that he is okay. In case you didn't remember, he had a medical situation that they thought that might affect his ability to walk, got a second opinion, and got it all checked out, and everything is A-okay. But there was some thoughts, and the Rangers had a pressured deadline to sign him or let him walk, and thankfully the Rangers paid him what seemed like at the time a pretty fair amount. Still well under slot, and we're able to go get some of these high school guys that had commitments and pay them well over their slot bonus to get them on their team. Now, number 16 is a guy whose numbers don't look as good, but some of the reports coming out about him and some of the things that he's changing make me a little bit higher on him than what his numbers say that he has been doing. But Tekoah Roby, TK Roby, is number 16 on my list. He is 20 years old, listed at 6'1", 185 pounds. The Rangers' 3rd-round pick in 2028 draft that looks just better and better by the freaking day. Right now, he is pitching in Hickory. So far, he has pitched in 13 games. All of those have been starts, 64 innings, a 5.18 ERA, and 76 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 14 home runs. The walks haven't been as much of an issue for him, but he has been really banged around by that home run ball. It feels like every single pitching prospect, except for the one that I literally just mentioned, have been banged around by the walk or the home run, and God forbid, in some of their cases, they have been hit around pretty badly by both. But TK Roby, he is working on an alternate delivery. His delivery was a little bit funky, a little bit erratic, and kind of hard to repeat. Well, I don't know about hard to repeat, but it would definitely add a whole lot of stress on him. And so there were a little bit of concerns about that at the time of the draft, but the stuff is absolutely nasty. He's lost a little bit on that velo because he, again, is figuring out a new delivery, but I'm not super worried. A few blow-up starts have been a little bit more of a problem. He's allowed 2 home runs per 9 innings and 3.2 walks per 9, 10.6 strikeouts per 9. A few walks kind of make those numbers look a little bit, or a few blow-up starts make those look a little bit worse than I think they actually are. If what he's working on actually comes to fruition and he can kind of figure out how to beat his old self with that new, more repeatable, healthier, less risky delivery, then that is going to prove wonders for the Rangers. I think I had him, where do I have him last time? Let's see. I had him at 19, and Grant said that's way too low at my preseason rankings. So I bumped him up a little bit despite bad numbers. I've been hearing really positive things about him. I don't know that he's necessarily on the verge of coming up to Double-A. There's not a whole lot of spots, even though I think maybe for some of them there kind of should be. There's not a whole lot of danger of one of those guys in this Rangers Double-A rotation being called up to AAA very soon, except for Owen White, who's been absolutely annihilating it ever since he's been called up to AA in his 3 starts. But again, I'm not worried about TK Roby. I'm very impressed by Mitch Bratt, Anthony Gutierrez, some of these guys in the Arizona Complex League. It's still a small sample size for pretty much all of those guys. But again, going through these guys, even some of the guys who dropped, it wasn't as much about them as it was about the Rangers just continuing to add talent to this system. I've kind of changed some of my thoughts on prioritizing guys that are safer picks versus kind of the AJ Preller model of let's get this guy who his ceiling is perennial all-star, maybe Hall of Famer, but his floor doesn't make it even to AA. So again, there's still always that love of the what if, maybe, because again, you guys know how hard I rode or died and still do ride or die for Joey Gallo, and I did that all through his minor league career. So some of those lotto ticket guys are a whole lot of fun. The Rangers might have another one of them if they are able to draft Elijah Green. But that is going to do it for this first 15 of my top 30 Rangers prospects. I'll be back tomorrow, early morning. These are going to be releasing at midnight, the audio version, and I think the YouTube version is going to go live at 9 a.m. So be sure to check it out tomorrow. Be sure to check out Locked On MLB Prospects for their draft coverage. They're going to have a whole lot of that this week, and they will be going live on Sunday night. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.